Haters won't be hard to find. After a fast start, FSU faded. Now it's time to find some answers before Boise State beats FSU twice or more than that. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, welcoming you to Florida State Seminoles Live. It's our 15th edition, and with a perfect record would be Jason Parker from Chop Chat. Logan Robinson joins us as well on a regular basis from Knoll Game Day. Aside from the obvious, how are you boys doing tonight?
Well, I was doing great up until that little intro right there. First of all, saying Willie haters. I mean, there's not one down here. I don't think there's one up there. I mean, that was a little hurtful. I mean, I'm just getting over this, and then this happened.
Jason, I guarantee before we get to your little mishap, I guarantee within the first 5 comments in the live chat, we're going to have an obvious Willie hater on the line. So they are out there. Face it. It's real. It's probably unfounded to a certain extent, although he is the 12th rated coach in the ACC. But Jason, before
12th rated coach by Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.
Yes, and appropriately rated. We'll get to that at another time. Right now, we need to hear about your weekend before we hear about why Florida State suffered such a dreadful second half.
I was viciously attacked by a dog named Manny Diaz. I think that was the dog's name. I mean, the dog threw up a U afterwards. No. I'm just saying. That's what I remember happening before my head hit the ground. No, there was an incident with our dog. Me and my ex-wife we were taking him to doggy daycare because our station that we work for was put on 12 on 12 off for the storm. He decided to run, and instead of saying, "Hey, Dad, run with me," he just ran, and I went to the ground. So.
I think the lesson to be learned there is don't have a dog own a dog with an ex-wife. You never know where the allegiance is going to lie between the two.
Well, she did go to Miami, so I don't know if maybe she's raising him. His name's Bowden, though, so I mean, he's a Knoll at heart. I don't know. This sounds like a Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football investigation. For next week, I will have an answer for you if she has turned his allegiance towards Miami. I hope not.
The Mark Rogers TV voice of college football investigation, which would be the first. Logan, how are you?
I've had a really nice last couple of days. I've been going to classes. I don't think anything happened on Saturday that I remember too much.
Mazel tov going to classes. Mazel tov to that.
Yeah, I've been going to my classes, but yeah, after Saturday, I think there's been a big. A lot of people predicted Florida State to win this game. It wasn't just us on here. There was even some Boise State beat writers that agreed, and Florida State looked like they had the win easily. And I think there was a lot of shocking excitement of how good this offense was really doing at the start of the game until Florida State came out of the tunnel in the second half, and we started seeing a little bit of crampage happening, and just kind of said, "Nah, I don't really want to play anymore." So
now, before Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, goes into his hater mode, I know he's got the hate ready to spew on second-year head coach Willie Taggart, even though he's got
Florida State colors on.
Oh yeah, he's got the garnet. He's got the garnet on.
The garnet shirt. I will definitely give a shout to the garnet shirt. I'd like to point out that Jason Parker from ShopChat.com did say, and I quote, "Boise State is more than capable of coming in and winning this ball game." I did say that at the end last week. I pointed that out. I was called a hater by many people because I went against FSU. I did pick FSU to win this game. I stand by that pick and why we made that pick. But once again, Boise State is a very good team, and I think there's a lot of people both in the college football world and in our FSU world who just did not give them enough credit. That does not justify, obviously, blowing an 18-point lead, and we will talk about that for the next 55 minutes or so. But let's start by giving Boise State credit. This is what Boise State has done. This is what they did against Oklahoma, what they did against Georgia, which they did against Oregon, Virginia Tech in the past. This is what Boise State does. And this is where FSU needs to realize this is not the same FSU team from the 90s and the early 2000s who's just going to run over teams. This is an FSU team who's going to have to fight hard in every single game, including this week against Louisiana-Monroe.
Jason, considering that game against Louisiana-Monroe, and I haven't looked at the games beyond that, but obviously they will get tougher again. I think we're going to be talking about this game and this meltdown in the second half longer than the next 55 minutes. I think this is going to be a conversation for the next 2 or 3 weeks until they make amends. So, Logan, we will start with you. 31-13, offense is rolling. What happened?
I was thinking, and while I was at the game, that Florida State and the coaching staff as a whole, definitely offensively, decided just to stop keeping their foot on the gas and keep scoring up. I remember when Willie Tiger was coming at Florida State, and he said that he liked putting the score up on people, and they wanted to be explosive and keep going that way. And it kind of halted, although I will say that Florida State kind of hurt themselves. I remember seeing a trick play that was also ran very early on. There was one where Cam Akers threw to Tamarion Terry that Terry didn't catch the ball, which you don't ever usually see at all from him. There was that, and then there was also, which we even talked about it too, I think, with Jason, about Keith Gavin. Mm-hmm. James Blackman gave a beautiful ball to him, going deep, which would have been a touchdown, but it was dropped. And you've got to stop seeing Keith Gavin out there. If you're, and that, maybe this is because it's Ron Dugan's first year as a wide receiver coach coming from Miami, but it's kind of getting old, and that's kind of ridiculous. So that would have been a nice help. Florida State then again hurt themselves whenever Warren Thompson caught a great ball from James Blackman going deep, and then I think this on the third play while they're over there in the red zone, ended up there was a miscommunication between James Blackman and Davion. The ball went all the way back, and Florida State couldn't get a touchdown there to get some points. So Florida State really liked to hurt themselves quite a bit because this game looked like it wasn't going to be close at all. Then you kind of get to where Florida State was cramping all over the place. We predicted Boise State to have a problem with that, but it seemed like the spraying water on themselves and heating up the IPF worked better than Florida State's practice down here in the absolute desert heat and disgusting humidity. Boise State was better physically. So it just, and I think you saw a lot of frustration. Either I'm wondering, because I believe Tashawn Reed from theathletic.com tweeted during the game, there was about 26 players that were subbing in and out, maybe 24, somewhere in that number range on defense that were subbing in and out. Something wasn't working there. I don't care how many people you're putting in. This is Boise State. This is a good team. There's no reason to be putting in true guys that haven't even early enrolled into situations, unless it's dire need, health reasons where starters are having a real problem, which at some points I did start looking to the side of the ball on defense when the players were not hurting, but they were obviously out of shape and tapping themselves on the helmets, take me out. And maybe that's why they were subbing in so many guys at so many points in the game. But overall, really hurting themselves, and obviously conditioning was not a factor during this offseason. A lot of weight room, not enough working out on the field.
Jason, Jesse Sullivan speaks for millions when he says, "I've been waiting to hear this reaction and analysis from Jason."
Well,
Go.
I'm trying to see real quick if I have anyone in my family named Jesse Sullivan. Let me look at my phone real quick. No. All right, I'm good. So Logan touched on everything except what the actual problem was with why FSU lost that football game. And it goes back to our fault. This entire offseason, all we talked about, both us as members of the media, national media, us here who cover FSU on more of a basis. We talked about how, here's the offensive issues. You bring in Kendall Briles. You bring in Ron Dugans. You bring in, Randy Clement in the offensive line. And, this is going to solve the problem. This is going to solve the problem. This is going to solve the problem. That defense, come on, man. Kyle, really? No, Popeye's still over Chick-fil-A. Really? Anyway, moving on. The problem has been since last season the defense. And it goes back to Harlan Barnett. You bring him in from Michigan State. He was a decent coach at Michigan State, but I think that he was brought in and it was this whole bill of how good is he going to be as a defensive coordinator. And he's shown. I don't think he is ready to be a defensive coordinator at a power program like FSU. You put 31 points on the board. I don't care if it takes 4 quarters to do it, if it takes 1 quarter to do it. In FSU's case, it took a half to do it. You put 31 points on the board, 9 times out of 10, you're going to win that game. Yes, the offense sputtered in the second half, 100%. Last 34 game minutes of action, the offense sputtered, and that's something that needs to be addressed in the future. That game was lost because of the defense. That game was lost because the Boise State team ran for over 100 plays. They had over 100 offensive plays, and the defense was not ready. that goes straight to Harlan Barnett. And I like him personally, but there needs to be changes. And I wrote about this on Monday on ShopChat.com. This is where Willie has to make changes. And he has said that there's going to be more open coaching on the defense. We don't know what that means. Is Harlan Barnett's duties as defensive coordinator going to get brought back a little bit? Is it going to get spread out amongst the guys? I will find out at 5 o'clock Saturday. But there has to be changes, because if this happens again, if FSU does the unthinkable, according to many experts, and loses to Louisiana-Monroe, I don't think Willie Taggart – I think the seat gets so hot under Willie Taggart that you have to look into whether he will finish out coaching the season. I think they beat Louisiana-Monroe. Hold on. Before I see the hot take machine going in Mark Rogers' head. He's going to make –
If they lose to Louisiana-Monroe –
do. Look, and I say this as a born and raised, a diehard FSU fan, now a son of FSU alumni, a proud FSU alumni myself. And does it frankly piss me off that we lost to Boise State? Of course, and it should piss off every Florida State supporter. That being said, this is the time where FSU is going to have to fight. Our program was in such turmoil after the 2017 season, after the former leader left to go to East Texas, that this is the situation we are going to be in. Did we think that it was going to manifest in a defensive letdown of Boise State scoring 23 unanswered points? No, I don't think anyone did. People in Boise sure as hell didn't. But this is where we're at right now. So it's focusing on one game at a time. Louisiana-Monroe, and we'll analyze this game in a little bit, FSU should win this game. But Willie Taggart needs to address the coaching issues on the defensive side of the ball very quickly. Otherwise, he could lose this season well before last year, where we lose 4 of the last 5 games, and that's what leads to a losing season. He needs to address this now. He needs to address this before the Virginia game, because, and I'll say it right now, Virginia is fully capable of beating us. Louisville looked like a heck of a lot better team for at least a half of football against Notre Dame. Now is that the same Notre Dame team we saw that made the playoffs last year? No, but Louisville did look like a better team. NC State has a 2-game winning streak against us. There is a legitimate chance that Florida State could go into the Clemson game 4-1 in a best-case scenario, but there's also a legitimate chance that they could go in as a 2-3, 1-4 team if they don't fix things ASAP.
Logan, if I would have told you that James Blackman would throw 3 touchdowns, no picks, throw for 327 yards on 23 of 33, Cam Akers would chip in 15 carries for $116 and a touchdown, I'm guessing you're chalking that up as a W.
Yeah, no, I literally was about to point that out to y'all in just a minute. I just pulled up James Blackman's stats. I talked about it on our podcast. I talked about it on IG Live earlier. You would have never predicted that. I mean, James Blackman had a nice day, positive-wise. You saw the offensive line block for him. I think it's scary if you give James Blackman a little bit of time. He reads the defense better than DeAndre Francois. And, of course, Cam Akers had a very nice day. Once again, he's still dealing with some fumble problems. But just give him a little bit of hole action or give him a chance, and that's where you see that 5-star come through. I think you want to see a little bit more time with Kalen LeBourne. But yes, but statistically that way, you would expect Florida State to have won that game. But then you go back and look at your defense, and it just wasn't the case overall. James Blackman, first half, great. Second half, a little iffy, but he was smart about his throws. I think he's gotten smarter. He's gotten more mature. There was multiple times where he could have thrown it. There was one play where he did throw in double coverage in the end zone, which was silliness, but he did get smarter. There was a lot of times where he threw it out of bounds in a smart way, where when it was his freshman year, of course, he made mistakes and did differently. But, like Jason said, there's got to be a lot of changes going on, a lot of film studies. This is what Willie Taggart said this whole week. Their film studies went great. They've learned a lot. And hopefully that is they see a good result on Saturday. Because if not, this team, ULM, I will agree in parts with Jason Parker. This team has a running back. First thing I looked at after the game on Saturday, I looked at how ULM did. They beat Grambling State with ease. And you're looking at a team at Florida State who doesn't have any linebackers right now, and they're going to face a team that has a good running game, and it's once again going to be probably a decent. You'd hope it's not a Florida State versus Samford like last year.
Who's been saying that linebackers will be an issue since April? I'm trying.
Yeah, well,
I've been saying that. I believe we've both really been saying that now since Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, signs up for this. But let me say two things real quick. Number one, to the commentator, NCIS, with the Ohio State logo, who said Jim Harbaugh's better than Willie Taggart. Stop drinking. It's bad for you. He's not. No, I'm sorry. Willie Taggart will win a title before Jim Harbaugh. Mark that down right now. That's number one. Number two, I'm actually going to give, yes, Ohio State fan, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I see you.
You're telling me that Willie Taggart's a better head coach than Jim Harbaugh.
I may have taken a few of the pain meds, so I don't know. Just allow everything I say for the next hour.
Okay, keep talking. We may hear something else, or 3 or 5 or 50 things that come out of your mouth that don't make any sense. Keep going.
I'm going to rip on your SEC in a moment, but we'll continue on that later on. But I want to actually give Cam Akers credit because and on ShopChat.com this summer, I was the first person who was critical of him that he needs to step up in the games that were needed. And he did step up. He showed out. To me, and the fourth down, which I'm going to give Kendall Briles credit, and I believe this is the new offense you'll see. There was no hesitation to go for it on fourth down. It was 4th and a yard, and he said, if you can't get 3 feet, you don't deserve to play. And the offense didn't even think about it. They said, we're staying on the field. We're going to go for it, and Cam Akers got a touchdown out of it. So I'm going to give Cam Akers credit. But here's the question. The first 26 minutes of football, you saw an FSU offense score nearly as many points as they scored in the first 2 games combined last season against Virginia Tech and against Stanford. So the defense lost the game. Let's put the blame out there. Danny H, stop it. They're not going 0-12. They're going to at least win 1 game this week. So you're wrong there, Danny H. Anyway, moving on. The defense lost that game, plain and simple. But where was the offense in the second half? How did the offense go from literally looking like arguably the best offense in week 1 for the first 26 minutes of action and then just look like hot garbage the last 34 minutes? What happened in that second half? You had Dante Lucas as a true freshman who looks amazing. You have Trey McKitty who's doing great things as tight end, both blocking and receiving in the first part of that game. And then he looks like hot garbage. You talk about Keith Gavin. You talk about the wide receivers who all of a sudden can't connect on anything. So that's the question. What happened to where it just went like that? And it was that much of an instant because you literally had a 31-13 lead, and then it immediately went to, 31-16, 31-19, 31-26. Oh, shoot, Boise State has a lead. What led to that point where the offense just started going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out? Because it just went down quickly. So these are the things that are going to have to be addressed. And Jesse Sullivan, apparently my fan club president here, you run 100-plus plays, you win. Exactly. Boise State, Florida State was not ready. Now, does that go towards Willie Taggart? Does that go towards strength and conditioning? I don't want to use the excuse of moving the game to Tallahassee at 12 o'clock, and Logan can tell you because he still looks like he's a little bit sunburnt from the game. But did that hurt? Probably it did. But is that a reason why you completely disintegrate in a second half? No, not at all. So these are the things that need to be addressed for this game. Because I'm sure it's going to be hot as hell this week, too, at 5 o'clock. It's hot as hell in September in Tallahassee.
Yeah, no, I was about to note on that. I just noticed that my mic isn't plugged in, so let's go and get that. But that's going to be the interesting thing here because this is going to be – is the mic still working, Mark? Is it good?
Oh, you're good.
Okay, good. The interesting thing is that this game Saturday is going to be stifling hot. It's going to be hotter than last Saturday's. You're going to be looking at it's completely sunny, looking like on the forecast. And at 5 o'clock, it is unbelievably hot. That's where the sun just sits there, and that's whenever the heat is always. It's just staying there. It's been since 2, 3 o'clock, so it's going to be hot. And Florida State's going to have to deal with that. One thing I want to talk to you about, Jason, real quick. Defensive wise, before we move on, is your thoughts also on Steen, Janarius Robinson, Joshua Kane, 2 6'5" guys weighing 261 pounds, covering wideouts that are 5'8" and 180 pounds, and how after about 3 times of that happening, there was no adjustments. Because if you look at these, and this kind of goes to another thing, Willie Taggart does not make adjustments for second halves. I don't know if you kind of realize that now, Jason, or anybody else, but it's not like where it was with Jimbo Fisher, and you'd see some very nice adjustments heading into the second half, and you'd feel better about games. Willie Taggart, if he is making adjustments, they're not working, but it seems like there's nothing going on there. They can't figure it out. They're not defensively for sure watching this game, no, but having Janarius Robinson cover 5'8", 180-pound wide receivers and relying on him, betting on him to cover him in certain routes is not going to work whatsoever. No wonder the Boise State's offense stayed on the field for that long. I just wanted to get your thoughts, too, on that, Jason.
Well, first of all, 3 things real quick. Number 1, to answer Byron Lamb's question, I'm going to continue to blame him until people like you will finally admit that he is one of the major reasons for the problem. And if you don't see that, you have a blind hatred towards Willie Taggart for whatever reason. And I know what the reason from some of the more redneck white trash crowd. I'm not saying that's you, Byron Lamb, but there are some fans for that very reason. So that's number 1. Number 2, shout out to Logan for his meteorology course there, because it's going to be 100 degrees in Tallahassee. Have you taken meteorology yet in school?
Nope, I haven't, but living here my whole life, I will go ahead and tell you it's going to be hot as beep.
It's going to be 100 degrees in Tallahassee, so I'm glad I'll be watching it from an air-conditioned place here in South Florida. So shout out to you. Make sure you have sunscreen. To answer your question, here would be my question. What member of that secondary right now do you trust to cover anyone? Legitimately, your life is on the line. What member of that secondary do you trust to cover? And I'm not saying that I trust Kendo or I trust Janarius Robinson or any of these guys to do the same thing and to play more of a secondary position. But which one would you trust life on your line right now? And that to me is the question, because right now that secondary is hot garbage. There's no other way to put it. And I love Asante Samuel. I love Stanford Samuel. Shout out to Broward County for both of them. But would I trust any of them right now, national title on the line? No. And this is the problem with the defense. The defense right now is playing like hot garbage, and they are the talent. They have the talent. They have guys on paper who should be arguably one of the better defenses in the country when you look at overall talent of the guys. But right now, would you trust this defense?
No.
Against anyone. And it's not a knock against them, because I think they have the ability to play great. But here's the question. This is now 13 straight games where the defense has essentially played like hot garbage. Well, you know what? I'll say this. Since Willie Taggart took over, I'd probably say the best game that defense played was against Wake Forest last year. And that was arguably their best win-wise, as far as, points and whatnot. But the rest of the way, what has that defense done? And that's where I'm sorry. It has to go to Harlan Barnett. There has to be an issue addressed. Would I personally love to see Odell Higgins take more of a leadership role? Yes, because I think this unit listens to him. I think they respond to him. But I don't think Willie is going to completely make a change at coordinator, because I think you risk blowing up that entire defense for the rest of the season. So I think there's going to be mild changes as far as that unit goes, maybe spreading it out more amongst all the coaches. I'm done here.
Well, I'm going to say that probably the best thing that happened all weekend is concerning Florida State football is that the game was moved to ESPN News, because it moved from a night game to a day game. And therefore, people like myself and millions of others who would have seen the fate in the second half didn't get to see it because a lot of people couldn't see it. So I had to watch the condensed highlights, but couldn't watch one of the games I really wanted to see this weekend.
Plus it getting moved up earlier allowed you to watch other games at 3:30 and at 7 o'clock, like, I don't know, just off the top of my head, Tennessee from that vaunted SEC that you raved about and told me how great the SEC was before the first game of the season. I believe they lost a $900,000 payday to a Georgia State team who went 2-10. Yes, basically what I did there was I just rationalized and tried to justify my team losing by trying to blame someone else for the same, because it still hurts. The loss still hurts, and I'm still in a lot of pain. Ow. Guilt trip. Trying to throw out that guilt trip real quick.
And because of that, Jason, I'll be kind. I'll be kind and not tear to shreds your argument. Yes, the SEC is still the best conference in college football. Yes, the SEC did lose 3 games that it shouldn't, specifically 2 games that it shouldn't, but that is going to happen. They also won probably 3 games better than any other conference in college football last weekend. They did beat 2 ACC teams, Duke and Miami. Got a win against Oregon. I don't see any other conferences winning those types of games out there.
Duke and Miami. You are going to brag about Alabama beating Duke.
I'm not going to brag about it. I'm pointing it out that the ACC played 2 games, 2 losses. They played 3 total games, and the SEC won 2 of the 3.
First of all, why is Kyle Pickett? Can we talk about why Kyle Pickett is hating on Popeyes? It's delicious. It's so much better than Chick-fil-A. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but that's why I choose Popeyes. But moving on, that's where we need to go with it. Popeyes is where it's at. Jim Harbaugh took a horrible step for team being the perennial Pac-12 contenders, the best pitcher Michigan's had since Floyd Parr. Willie Taggart, on the other hand, it's Taggart with a T, but nice try, Veggie AJ. On the other hand, yeah. Okay, Jim Harbaugh also had a guy, quarterback named Andrew Luck. He was kind of good there, and then immediately when Andrew Luck left, what did Harbaugh do? Oh, yeah, he bolted for the NFL, so okay.
He bolted for the NFL, and his San Francisco team that was 2-14 the year before he got there went to 2 straight NFC Championship games into a Super Bowl.
And who did they lose to the Super Bowl? Shout out to the Baltimore Ravens.
They were in a Super Bowl when they had just gone 2-14 a couple years earlier. That's the point I'm making.
And you give a shout out to the Baltimore Ravens for winning that Super Bowl.
Sure. Shout out to the Baltimore Ravens for winning the Super Bowl.
Shout out to Kent State, the Fighting Golden Flashes.
Well, Eric actually is bringing up a pretty interesting question, which I talk about on the podcast too. In order for Florida State to get a bowl game this year, this now is going to be a situation to see, and we'll see it firsthand on Saturday, if Taggart can actually keep this team, if he can keep these players on board with him and trust his process, because it's very scary. We saw Dante Lucas, a true freshman coming in, which we've heard stories about him during the spring that he was calling out veterans. You know, he wants to win. He was throwing things on the sideline and very, very pissed off. We saw Dontavius Jackson crying on the sideline. We saw Brendan Gann very emotional. Logan Tyler helping them off the field. This game really hurt them. It depends on how they bounce back mentally more than anything, and if Willie Taggart still has this team, which we'll find out on Saturday. Because if they're not with it, the one thing that I think is positive for FSU fans to think about is that they do have the biggest leader that Florida State has had, like a solidified leader since Jameis Winston. And we're talking, before the chat goes wild, we're talking leadership-wise. He is a complete leader of this team. This team loves them. They've liked them and seen him as a leader even in 2018 and even a little bit in 2017 when he used to talk to the team before games. This team loves James Blackman. James Blackman loves them. I think he keeps them keeps them steady and afloat during this practice this week. That's the positive news about it. But you just got to see how it goes this Saturday, because if they start melting down in something, if they just don't know how to face adversity. If there's any kind of adversity in the first quarter against ULM, it's going to be a football game.
And my comments last week about when I said Boise State is fully capable of winning the game. What I said earlier, and I'll clarify it a little bit, I don't think Louisiana-Monroe, and they can put this on the bulletin board or not, I think talent-wise, player to player, Louisiana-Monroe does not have the talent on their own to come in and beat Florida State. That's a fact. Their talent-wise, they are not as talented of a team as Florida State. That being said, Florida State has shown previously, losing to a 3-9 Georgia Tech team in 2015. This is recent history. They have shown that they have the ability to lose to teams they have no business losing to. If Florida State plays down to Louisiana-Monroe is fully capable of winning the game. But that's what's going to take. It's going to take Louisiana-Monroe playing their best game and Florida State playing just like the second half against Boise State. If that happens, Louisiana-Monroe could come in, get the upset win, and all hell breaks loose in Tallahassee. I don't think that personally is going to happen, but it could. And FSU fans need to start to realize that these chances of, it's not going to happen, it could. It could legitimately happen.
It could happen. It's got like a 1% chance of happening. So let's give the win to Florida State, and not that it needs to be played on the field. But after that, the way Louisville looked decent against Notre Dame for much of that game and stayed in the game despite 4 to 5 turnovers for Louisville. I'm looking at the rest of the schedule, and even though it's not daunting, everybody either played better football than, outside of Louisville, played better football than Florida State last year, or looks, based on week one, it's only one game, to probably have its act together a little bit better than Florida State. Like, this looks like a bad run of games if Florida State doesn't get its act together, especially on defense. Now, the offense, again, I need to watch the replay because ESPN News I don't have and didn't watch the game, but I would love to just dissect what happened with the offense exploding in the first half and folding in the second half. But the play differential was obviously largely resulted in the final. But again, the schedule's loaded with decent teams that are capable of winning the game, and right now look like a slightly better team than Florida State, talking about the Virginias and NC States and Wakes and Syracuse type teams.
And we said this before, that the goal is to be better than they were last season. Last season, after the 6-game mark, the loss to Miami, the team was 3-3. The 6th game this season is the Clemson game on October 12th. If FSU can be a 4-2 team, let's say at that point, there is a lot of positives you can take out of that. And then you have a second half of the season with games against Wake Forest, against Alabama State, against Boston College. So there are games where FSU can be a 7-win team, 8-win team. And let's be honest, FSU, let's be the voice of optimism for a moment. There's a chance FSU could turn this thing around and finish as a 9-win team, and whatnot. There are a lot of chances out there that could happen. But what's going to happen is now, and we've written about this week, it'll be on Saturday on ShopChat.com, this game is a no-win situation for Willie Taggart. If FSU wins this game, handily beats Louisiana-Monroe, it's ho-hum, FSU beat a team they're supposed to beat. If FSU either struggles to win or, God forbid, loses, where do you go from there? Because then you go to Virginia. You play the Louisville team that, like you said, looked better against Notre Dame. You play an NC State team, and you play a Clemson team, and then it's like, holy crap, where do we go from here? So that's why this game is really a no-win situation for Taggart. He has everything to lose and nothing to really gain from this game this week.
Let's remind everyone, it's Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, and this is what we do each and every Wednesday night. We bring on Logan Robinson from Knoll Game Day, so please join him, the rest of his crew there in covering Florida State football, as well as Chop Chat and Jason Parker right there. They do an exceptional job, as you already know from listening to them here. So join them there and get the full in-depth coverage on Florida State football. And I will let you know that you can get my predictions. Week 2 is coming up. 16-11 against the spread. Won't set the world on fire, but it will make money. 59% against the spread week 1. So get my predictions at the Voice of College Football Community. You can catch the link in the description section below next to the hashtag. Sam Strong will be the betnow.eu component of this. If you jump on there, you get double your money. So if you put in $100, you get $100. It's a good deal. So you get ahead of the sticks in the betting game, and then maybe you want to use my picks as well, and you join our Voice of College Football Community. And we also have a newsletter, boys, that comes out each and every week.
What?
The Voice of College Football newsletter. Yes, what? If you send, Jason, listen to this. If you send your email to MarkRogersTV at Gmail, you get on the mailing list for free.
I got to learn to read first, though. That's the only problem.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you could have somebody read it for you. They could read it to you.
You're right. Okay.
Maybe your dog or your ex-wife might want to read to you.
Oh, man.
Damn.
It was right there. It was right there for me.
Damn.
My apologies.
Man.
Just some of us out here who come to work with a broken arm.
Yeah, you're a gamer. Florida State needs
didn't miss. I could have taken this week off, but I said nope. The people of Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, need me.
They want you. They need you. They don't necessarily love you. Some do, but you got some haters. But you're in demand. We'll put that, Jason. We'll put it that way.
We can't all be the state of Ohio's greatest sons like you. They're somehow now in Connecticut. I'm not sure how that worked out, but here in the Sunshine State, I am beloved.
Logan, please help us.
I
may run against Ron DeSantis in 2022 just for the hell of it. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
I was going to note real quick. I think this is most. We had 112. I was just seeing, maybe 115, but this is close to the most that we've ever had. But we only have 28 likes. That's something troubling to me. Only 28 likes. Can we get that to 50 likes? I was thinking about today in class. I was like, you know what? Today we're going to get to 50 likes on Mark Rogers TV show, The Voice of College Football. It's only at 28 likes right now. Can we get some more likes on there? And then the people don't know, if you get more likes, it goes to the feed. What, we're already at 35. Look at that, 22 to 35. If we get more likes, then it goes to more people. Then we have more rivals come in here, and we can talk trash, and we can see Jason eat more pieces of pizza because he's very sad about Saturday.
First of all, shout out to Sal's Pizza down here. It's really helping out. It's helping me out right now. Shout out to their pizza.
It's helping you out, isn't it? Yeah.
Jason, I think that Logan has surpassed you as the best spokesperson on this show. That's what just happened there.
I'm pretty sure that he has not once said Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.
And that was the first time.
I believe that's number 6 for me. So I'm just saying, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed at you, Mark Rogers TV.
The count is now 109 to 1. Logan finally said Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.
Finally. That's all I needed to do.
It was a well-delivered pitch, though, to get people on here. And I say this all the time. Florida State fans, Florida State haters, college football fans, whomever you are, this is a great place to be. These guys deliver every Wednesday night. And then I fill in the gaps with my national perspective. Let's call it that, Jason. National perspective on the Noles, the ACC, and the landscape of college football. This is what I do as the voice of college football. That's my role.
I just want to say that Florida State is 0-1 since Popeyes stopped selling the chicken sandwiches. I'm just saying that once they start selling the chicken sandwiches again, FSU will go on a winning streak. I'm just throwing it out there. That's my hot take for today. So Popeyes, shout out to Popeyes. Let's get on that. And sponsor Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, and sponsor Chop Chat, and sponsor Knoll Game Day. Let's get on this, Popeyes.
Yeah.
Oh, wouldn't that be something exceptional? Then we'd all be wearing Popeyes gear and have Popeyes in the background and have to fill our faces with Popeyes while analyzing Florida State football.
I mean, if we have to do what we have to do.
Yep, exactly.
Is the one still open by Doak?
I believe so. I don't usually eat around campus that much. I live in Midtown, so I come back home, and I'm a Midtowner.
Well, excuse me. Some of us have because we're from South Florida.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of want.
Really good for you.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, water. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Here we have it.
Product placement. Shout to Coca-Cola, the official sponsor of FHF.
There we go. See, you
I've worked in sports broadcasting for 15 years. I know about sponsorship, all right? And I will tattoo a Popeyes logo if they give us money. Let's do this.
Oh, my. So you're going to tattoo the Popeyes logo?
No, then I can't get buried in a Jewish cemetery. I've got rules here. Come on, man.
Oh.
This is actually an amazing segue that you guys have brought me to, because that's exactly what I'm looking for. If anybody out there knows of a company that wants to be seen by about 350,000 people each month, and the subscriber base is exploding by the day, we're adding about 1,000 a month. We get, do the math, whatever that is, 350,000 views per month divided by 30 per day. Anyway, you get out there and you know who your audience is. You know, if you sell college football gear, for example, where else would you want to sell it but right here? So if you know of a sponsor opportunity, please contact me at MarkRogersTV@gmail.com. Or if you want to sell for me, MarkRogersTV@gmail.com.
If you live in South Florida, I'll buy you a lunch special at Sal's. It's 2 slices of pizza and a soda for like $5. I think I can afford that. I'm not sure what the medical bills are going to be, but I think we're good.
Yeah.
I think we're okay.
So is Florida State still beating UM and UF? Well, in my opinion, let me give mine first because I know Jason has some stuff to talk about. I think Florida State does beat Miami at home. I didn't see anything too good after the first week. I don't believe Miami's too special there offensive line wise. Florida game and Gainesville. I predicted this, and I got to keep my word. I'm a true man.
Lies.
I'm a growing man. I need to keep growing and aging here. So I'm going to say Florida State does lose to Florida and Gainesville, but I do think they do beat Miami and Doak.
And I think they beat both. With all due respect, I'm gonna tell you, Logan, that they beat both because I do think Miami looked good against Florida. And then once again, I'm gonna give them credit. Florida, though, did their job and showed up in the fourth quarter and got that. My response to that would be, do you think that Florida team that had to come back in the fourth quarter against Miami can handily beat teams like LSU, like Georgia, like Auburn, like South Carolina, hell, like Missouri? All 5 teams they have to play before they play Florida State. I'm not saying right now that Florida State is a more talented team than Florida, but Florida's schedule of playing the higher-ranked teams in the SEC, not the entire SEC, but the higher-ranked teams, although South Carolina did get exposed against North Carolina, and we can talk more about that in a little bit. But their schedule, they are going to be a beat-up team when they come to Tallahassee. That's where I'm saying, and it's the big if. If FSU can turn this around quickly, then they have the potential to beat both teams. I do think they beat Miami in Tallahassee. If the game is in Miami, I'm not so sure, but I think because it's in Tallahassee, I'm going to give them the advantage there. But I think that game at the end of the year, I think Florida will be so beat up that they will drop a game that they probably should win. They probably should beat FSU, but I think FSU wins both.
Jason, to your point, and yes, I'm going to highlight one of your points. I'm not going to trash it. I'm actually going to highlight one of your points. They need to win the next week. They need to win the next game against Louisiana-Monroe. Assuming they do that, this game against Virginia on the road is serious business. Cavaliers scored 17 straight against Pitt on the road. 1 point deficit at half. Steamrolled the Panthers in the second half, 130-14. That was the one team that got in their way to win the division championship last year. A lot of people like them. ACC media picked Virginia to win. I picked Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, picked Virginia to win the Coastal Division. So you're probably playing the 2 best teams, 2 best rosters in the other division in Miami and Virginia. So you got to get your acts together, and I'm going to be fascinated to see that game. So even though you guys want to see changes both sides of the football next week against Louisiana-Monroe to make you feel better, even if you play a sloppy, crappy game, you should win the game.
No, 100%. 100%.
2 weeks from now, you go to Virginia. What has to change? What would you like to see utilized both offensively and defensively, Jason, that they need to do with the personnel they have to be better equipped to beat Virginia?
Offensively, I don't need to see much different than what I saw against Boise State. Let's give the offense credit. And I'm not a fan of Kendall Briles personally because I still have personal issues with everything that happened at Baylor and all the accusations and whatnot. But that's for a different day. Football-wise, I will give him credit. I think he came in, and that first 26 minutes of action was the phenomenal football that we prayed for, we hoped for, we dreamed for. And I'm sure Logan was the same way of calling people and texting people when we scored a touchdown saying, holy crap, we scored a touchdown in the first game of the season after what took place last year against Virginia Tech. So what I need to see offensively against Virginia is that same 26 minutes. I need to see that same intensity. With all due respect, Virginia scoring 30 points against Pitt's defense, and I know I just have spent the last 44 minutes railing on the FSU defense, is not the same. FSU has a better defense than Pitt. Stats-wise, maybe not so much, but as far as players go, they have a better defense. So what I need to see from the defense is I need to see them come out against Virginia, and something that bothers me is when Harlan Burnett says, we bend but we don't break. Well, the bending broke against Boise State. So now it's going to be, where do we go from here? Is it faced against Louisiana-Monroe? Can they come out? It's mental at this point. If they mentally think they can play Virginia, I have the confidence in the world of this team. If they struggle against Louisiana-Monroe, they will be in trouble against Virginia. So I need them to get into a mental mindset against Louisiana-Monroe where I need domination. I don't need like the Samford game last year where it took until the fourth quarter to get the lead. I need domination from the beginning to the end. Maybe not, 58-0, and we'll talk about predictions in a moment. I think FSU wins by less than the point spread right now, but I need them to win convincingly. I need confidence going into that Virginia game. Logan,
Logan, who would you like to see? Any other players featured that you didn't see, whether that was on the offensive side or the defensive side? Certainly, you don't want to see that defensive unit out there for 106 plays.
No, not in that kind of heat that's going to be there on Saturday whatsoever. I'd like to see water bottles in their hands in between snaps, a lot of timeouts called. No, I'm just playing. It's pretty much like what Jason said. We saw what they can do. And in the first half, like I was texting all my guys at NG, we were like, what is happening? This is going to be a fun weekend to talk about. Social media is going to be doing great. The graphics that we have planned are going to do awesome. And then it flip-flops. So coaching, watching a lot of film, adjustments. Maybe they were going way too hard into it the first half, or maybe not. Maybe they need to control themselves. They let out a lot of energy. But there's got to be adjustments on how that defense is being ran. Also, I think still offensively, there's a lot of things, unless Boise State had a master plan of locking up that Florida State offense, which I really don't think they did. I think Florida State was hurting themselves with play calling and missed opportunities. The offense still, I mean, we saw what it can do in the first half. It's got to continue. Willie Taggart needs to put the foot on the gas. Do not stop. Do not get comfortable. This seems to be a disease in Tallahassee or for Florida State as a whole, because they get so many opportunities where they can score and just keep it going and stay up on teams like it was with Miami last year, and then just stop and halt. This game, it doesn't matter how many points there is. It's a friggin' football game. Show your recruits that you came here to play, blow them out in Doak. They didn't really want to do that, it seemed like, in the second half. And Willie Taggart is going to have to start making adjustments going into these last two quarters.
That playing down to competition and letting them come back and make games look interesting goes back to Jimbo Fisher. I remember the 2015 game against Miami when we should have blown them out, and all of a sudden it's a 29-24 final score, and we're all sitting there freaking out going, what the hell just happened here?
Yeah, and he did it. And I noted that too on maybe IG Live or somewhere on our podcast. I noted that this was happening. This is a disease that's been going on in Tallahassee. It just seems like they do not want to keep the foot on their necks and keep driving on. I have no idea what it is. You know, it's Florida State. This is not supposed to be some nice thing. Who gives a damn? I mean, of course, we saw what happened in 2013. There was games where it was over in the first quarter. You know, Jameis Winston was going to do his thing. The defense was too ridiculous for anybody to score on them. But Florida State had a better talented team overall, definitely defensively, in 2014. And then I remember watching every game, and it was close no matter what. And that disease started then in 2015, of course. And then last year, too, against Miami. They just don't know how to complete. They don't know how to win anymore. Willie Taggart announced or told that to the media. They don't know how to win anymore. And whenever adversity strikes, this team still doesn't know how to overcome it.
Okay, can we just real quick take one moment? Can we go back to a couple quotes? Can we go back to the previous quote before real quick?
Which was about what?
It was from Jesse. It was from my fan club president talking about Popeyes at Doak. No, let's clarify with him. No, I'm talking about there's a Popeyes just south of Doak Campbell Stadium, just south of Stadium Drive. So that's what I was talking about. I may have drunkenly gone in there multiple times in college. We also go back to a man named James Scott who called you unbiased and called me confusion. I believe he misspelled his own name, James. So let's talk about confusion there. I'm at least on pain pills. I have an excuse. Let's also go back to the one gentleman, Mr. Veggie AJ, who said he would like our page if we talked Colorado, Nebraska. So real quick, I picked Colorado to beat Nebraska. Who you got, Logan? Colorado, Nebraska. One name. Go.
Nebraska.
Nebraska. Who you got, Mark?
So my predictions are reserved for the Voice of College Football Community link, but Nebraska is a 3.5-point favorite in the game. That's all I'll state, but you got to check me out. I predict all the top 25 games right there. DJ Schultz says, what's up, Mark? And DJ and I worked together at ESPN, and DJ moved back to Louisiana. A big Florida State fan, hurting over the loss. I will remind you guys as you check out the live chat, if you come across any questions or comments that interest you, certainly jump on them if I miss them. I did want to go through the second half drive chart for Florida State after the explosion of 31 points.
Waiting for this. I feel like you were sitting there. You went to church, temple, mosque, wherever you worship, and I think you were like, dear God, please let FSU lose so that I can have all this ammo that's just going to make Jason's blood boil next Wednesday. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, want this to happen. I feel like you just see my blood boiling. Just you see it.
Why don't you tell your team to win a game at home that it's favored by a touchdown by, and I wouldn't have to do this.
We were favored by 5 points. That's less than a touchdown. So let's.
I got a touchdown. Once it was moved to Tallahassee, I got a touchdown.
That's you.
And I grabbed it.
The Vegas casino. I wish you did, because I'd give you a little bit of money to put it on FSU the rest of the way. But first of all, can I real quick just say before you get to the drive chart real quick, DJ Schultz hit the nail on the head, and I think Logan will agree with me on this one. And we joke, we kid here, and I know you don't hate FSU. I know we all joke and we have fun around here. But the bottom line is FSU did look better in this opener than they have in the last two seasons. They were playing a Boise State team that I think was much worse than the Alabama team in 2017, but much better than the Virginia Tech team they played last year. But let's give FSU credit. They looked better. Should we still be upset they lost? Absolutely, 100%. And I think Logan and I are both pissed off that FSU lost the game. That being said, for anyone who's willing to jump off the FSU bandwagon at this point, get off and don't come back. If you're frustrated that we lost, absolutely. That's fine. I agree with you 100%. If you want to give up being an FSU fan because they lost by 5 points to a good Boise State team, then you are delusional and need to move on and go root for Kent State or Ohio State or whoever MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, is a diehard fan of.
Second half drive chart.
Go for it.
There it is.
Go for it. I'm gonna go fill up some water. You go ahead.
You have to do that right now. You haven't done that for 15 weeks, but you're selecting this time with like 3 minutes left in the 3 minutes left in the show. 3 minutes. You can't wait.
Start Willie. Go ahead. I'll stay here. I'll listen to your spiel.
Logan has to field the tough questions. He's got to field the tough topics. You run and hide when it gets tough.
Oh.
Wow.
And I'm the young one here.
I'm sorry. I'm the one with a broken arm. Yes, that's called Jewish guilt. I'm going to run with that for a while. I'm going to go for it for another week. Go ahead.
Jason, at least Mike Myrick, I'm sorry, Mike. My apologies. I butchered your last name. It's got to be Myrick, and you join us all the time, so I appreciate your support. Supporting Jason on something we don't know. It's probably can't have to do with anything regarding football analysis. It has to be the Popeyes angle.
Or maybe he likes the pizza. I don't know. Shout out.
It could be the pizza. All right, here's the drive chart. Coming out in the second half, 6 plays, 9 yards, punt. 3 plays, 1 yard, punt. 4 plays, 13 yards, punt. 2 plays, 18 yards, fumble. 3 plays, -9 yards, punt. And then we've got a 3-play, 8-yard drive with a punt. And with the game on the line, we've got 3 plays, -6 yards, and a punt. And then certainly with the game on the line, 5 plays, 17 yards, lost the ball on downs.
You do remember the part where basically for the last 7:54 this moment, after the last 52 minutes and 40 seconds now, that we said that the last half of the game on offense was a dumpster fire. I believe I said it. I know Logan said it. So I'm wondering what the sense of repeating it is, because we've said the offense went away. The offense went into the locker room halftime and said, you know what? It's too hot. We're not going to come out in the second half. We're good. You know, there's other games that are on TV. We got the goal line this year on ESPN. Might as well go with it. But no. Okay, first of all, really, Danny H., come on, you're crazy. Anyway, we're going to score more than 3 points. But no, we've said this the entire game. The offense didn't show up. So this is where the Louisiana-Monroe game has to be the game where FSU has to click on all cylinders the entire game. And if they don't, then they shouldn't be a favorite going into the Virginia game. No, you're not going to destroy us, JT Sports. Sorry, buddy. FSU beats Virginia. Mark it down. Write it down. Right now. Boom.
Score predictions. We got to do it real quick.
Do we have to do it? We should have done it last week. So you guys did it last week, right? And I will mark myself down, and it's verified on my Voice of College Football community site that I did predict Florida State to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I took Boise State in the 5.5 or the 7, whatever your choice there. I took the line and Boise State. So 1-0 against the points, 0-1 straight up money line. All right. Jason, fire. Louisiana-Monroe's in town. Yes. What's the problem?
That is bogus, MarkRogersTV. Oh my God, we're with the money line. No, that's bogus, and you know it. Go ahead, Logan. Please give me your prediction.
This is legitimate football betting lingo. I predicted Florida State to win the game. I acknowledge my loss. I predicted Boise State, and I took the points. I acknowledge I won. What is bogus about that?
We lost being legitimate when I walked in with a broken arm after walking the dog that my ex-wife has. So that's why we lost legitimacy on this one. We'll try again next week. But go ahead, Logan. Please give us your prediction.
I'm going to go give the score prediction now. We're now 4 minutes before the Miami Hurricanes come on next. We would hate to take away time from them.
You can't do that.
Yeah, that would suck because they've been
pissed.
For some reason, they've already won a national championship, even though they started this season 0-1, and they're still in the chat over here talking trash. Anyways, yep. I'm going to go Florida State 38, Louisiana-Monroe 28. I think I predicted that on the podcast. I think Louisiana-Monroe has some success running the ball against Florida State's defense. Why wouldn't it? I mean, I don't know what else to go off of. I'm not going to go off of some kind of dream or whatever. I'm just going off of what we saw last year and also to the start of the 2019 season. Florida State has to get ready to be fully conditioned for this game. It's going to be stifling hot, and the defensive changes have got to be made both smart through the film and the way that they're running their assignments. There's a lot of mental mistakes that were going on. I saw Levante Taylor. I saw multiple DBs while they're in zone miss out on – that's like a whole nother film review, but there's got to be a better way to run that defense. You can't have 6'5", 261 guys, 261-pound guys covering 5'8", 180-pound wide receivers. That will kill you in any kind of game, no matter what. And then also offensively, you got to keep playing better. I don't know if it was Boise State's defense that did a really good job shutting down Kendall Briles, but you don't usually see that with Kendall Briles whatsoever. They completely shot down their momentum. You've got to see them continue to play well, and you got to see Kendall Briles maybe call better plays and make even more adjustments in the second half with Willie Taggart.
So since Logan took up all my time, and we don't want to interrupt Cam Underwood from State of the U with Miami's at 8 o'clock, where he's going to try to actually defend why Miami and North Carolina is a tough game. Sorry. Anyway, moving on. Sorry, that was a shout-out to all the Miami fans out there who think the new Miami is back.
You just lost to a Group of 5 team, and they're playing a team that just beat South Carolina.
I'm sorry, South Carolina from the vaunted SEC, right? Moving on, back to my point. Florida State's favored by 21. I'm going to pull Mark Rogers TV. I'm going to take FSU to win, but not to cover. I think Florida State wins 38-20. I think they are going to – I think the confidence will be there. I think the big key is going to be stopping Monroe's running back, Josh Johnson. The man averaged over 17 yards a carry, had 2 scores last week. If they can contain him, I think FSU wins convincingly and has confidence going into Virginia.
What we are going to do, the three of us and anybody else who wants to take part that is in our Florida State direct message stream, is we are going to predict the scores of the games each and every week. So you guys have to keep it under lock and key when I throw out my prediction in the direct message. You can't let that out because that's worth gold. That is worth gold. You can't let that out because that's under lock and key.
Yeah.
Actually, this particular prediction and game, I can state this publicly because it's not because Florida State's so horrible, not a top 25 game. So I'm not going to be officially predicting the game this week. So I'm going to say that Florida State wins this game. How about let's go 38-20.
Can I just point out that?
Wait, so y'all are both picking the same score?
You just stole my prediction.
I wasn't even listening. What was the score? 38-20.
Mine was 38-28.
All right, I'll come up with something else. Did you say 38-20, Jason? Seriously?
38-20. Thanks for listening. Jeez.
I'm going to say it's going to be some odd score because 36-23.
Okay, really? Seriously? That's where you're going?
36-23. There it is.
What about everybody in the chat? Are they going to predict too real quick before we leave?
Okay,
we're leaving like right now.
Oh, they're gone. Gotta get ready. Gotta get ready for Miami because they get like 75.
We do. We're past time. We are past time. Everybody, we love it each and every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Jason Parker from Chop Chat, who still wants to keep talking. I can tell it. He just can't help himself.
I'm going to go listen to Cam Underwood try to defend why Miami, North Carolina is a game of the week and a tough game.
Why does he need to defend that? It's just a game on the schedule. And Logan Robinson from Noel Game Day. And I'm, of course, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And please keep it right here on the channel, on the front page. We'll send the next live stream, Miami football talk at 8, Ohio State at 9. And get this for a bonus this week. Michigan at 10. We're talking college football for 4 hours, and I got about 2.5 hours sleep and worked all day. So who knows what it's going to look like in hour 4. But these two get the fresh and hyped up Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. All right, you guys did an amazing job breaking down the first loss of the season. That gives you good practice for the other 8 or so.
I hope Kent State goes 12. I don't even know if they lost their first game.
We'll see you boys soon. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, buddy.
That was fun.